All right, that was Luther at Christmas time. There's an amazing things that starts to happen almost before we know it. Before we know it, whenever there is a mass shooting or anything violent, you can automatically tell what the media thinks of the perpetrator or potential perpetrator by what pictures they show of them first. The thing you show of them first. I remember when Tamir Rice was killed, a 12-year-old boy killed by a police officer. The Cleveland Plain Dealer, the first story they talked about or told was the story about how Tamir Rice's father had been in trouble. The pictures they use of Mike Brown or Freddie Gray or Ahmaud Arbery are always different than the pictures they use of a Kyle Rittenhouse or Ethan Crumley, because that is the way they see them. Now, the mass murder yesterday, Ethan Crumley, who was so vicious he's going to be tried as an adult. Look at the picture. He looks like he's praying. He looks like a choir boy. That is on purpose. That is deliberate. Forget that the victims were praying and huddling in classrooms trying to avoid this murderer. But oftentimes the table is set, the die is cast before anything's ever. Rittenhouse, when he murdered those two people and shot the third, they helped him walk back to his car. They gave him water. And the first words that were uttered by law enforcement were, if nobody was home, it wouldn't happen. And you follow that all the way through. Look at how they portray their murderers or people who have perpetrated crime versus ours. Both of them, John is in an apartment. Why do we know that he smoked weed before we even knew the person's name who killed him? There is a deliberate and subversive attempt to cast a die before we know anything about anybody. Ahmaud Arbery, well, he was breaking into houses before one picture. One picture. This boy, Ethan Crumley, and I'm sure we will get, it's a sentimental story. Yes, the media is saying he was bullied. They show a picture that's sympathetic to that narrative. And it starts to foment an idea that may be true. It starts to work in his favor. It is something, an advantage that he has, a benefit of the doubt that most people would not get. And they do it over and over and over. I defy you to look at that picture and contrast with the carnage that was unleashed on that school the other day. And to tell me that if the roles were reversed and the perpetrator had looked a different way, that those pictures wouldn't be decidedly reversed. I remember when O.J. was on trial, they made his picture darker on the magazine to make him more sinister. Because that is what they want to foment in our minds, and they do it all the time. Yes, I'm sorry the kid was bullied. I'm sure he prays to God, but that pales in comparison to all the prayers of those children who hoped that he would make it to their classroom. And the father who bought the gun on Friday, or just like Kyle Rittenhouse's mother who provided, or who was in the vicinity of a boy who had a gun, they should be charged too. Just like Dylan Roof's parents or whoever got him that gun should be charged too. But there is an attempt to start to explain things before we even hear one word, before he ever said who he was, before he was ever going to be tried as an adult. You see a picture of a kid praying. And it can't help but garner sympathy. And that is the goal all the time. This is a kid, and those are monsters. And you should know the difference. And if you don't know the difference, we will show you a picture and help you along. That is a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show. Fucking murderers.